What if the true cradle of humanity is not in Africa, Mesopotamia, or any of the known cradles of civilization, but beneath the endless waves of the Pacific Ocean? For centuries, explorers, mystics, and researchers have whispered about a lost land, an entire continent swallowed by the sea, where an advanced civilization once flourished. Its name was Mu. The legend of Mu emerged as one of the great enigmas of the modern age. Some claimed it was the birthplace of all ancient cultures, a vast landmass stretching thousands of miles across the Pacific, home to a people whose knowledge rivaled or even surpassed our own. They were said to have mastered astronomy, architecture, and spirituality long before Egypt raised its pyramids or the Maya built their temples. And then, in a cataclysm so sudden and violent, Mu disappeared forever, leaving no trace, only myths scattered among distant peoples. But why does this story fascinate us so deeply? Perhaps because it represents a missing chapter in our human past, a tantalizing possibility that entire civilizations could rise, thrive, and vanish without a single stone remaining above water. The mystery of Mu is more than a tale of ruins and oceans. It is a challenge to history itself, daring us to ask, could our origins be far older and far stranger than we've ever imagined? To uncover the truth, we must first travel back to the 19th century, when explorers and dreamers began piecing together fragments of legend, misread inscriptions, and daring imagination to create the story of a lost Pacific continent. From there, we will explore its supposed geography, its people, its wisdom, and why even today, the myth refuses to die. And so, our journey begins, not on solid ground, but in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where the waves conceal one of history's greatest mysteries, the lost civilization of Mu. If Mu truly existed, where would we find it on the map of our world? According to its most famous proponent, British writer James Churchward, Mu was once a colossal continent spanning the Pacific Ocean, stretching from Asia to the Americas. He described it as a tropical paradise, teeming with life, fertile lands, and home to millions of people. In his vision, this lost continent stood as the true motherland of man, the place where civilization itself began. But long before Churchward, whispers of a sunken land were already echoing through human imagination. Ancient legends from Polynesia tell of homelands swallowed by the sea. In Hawaii, stories speak of Kanehunamoku, a mystical floating land. In Easter Island traditions, ancestors were said to have come from a distant place that no longer existed. Even in Mesoamerica, the Maya and Aztecs spoke of ancestral lands that vanished beneath rising waters. Could these fragments be echoes of the same lost world? The modern concept of Mu first emerged in the 19th century. Augustus Le Plongeon, an eccentric explorer of Mayan ruins, believed he had deciphered inscriptions that told of a great land to the west, the homeland of the Maya, that sank after a terrible catastrophe. Though his translations were flawed, his idea caught the imagination of many. James Churchward later expanded this vision into a sweeping theory. Mu was not just the Maya's homeland, but the origin of all advanced ancient civilizations. According to him, Egyptian, Indian, and American cultures were but branches of this primeval tree, rooted deep in the soil of Mu. Yet as grand as these claims were, no physical evidence of such a land has ever been found. Geologists point out that entire continents do not simply vanish beneath the waves in a single cataclysm. The Pacific floor, mapped in the 20th century, reveals deep trenches and volcanic chains, but no signs of a sunken continent. Still, this has not silenced the legend. Instead, it persists in the spaces where myth, memory, and mystery overlap. Mu, as imagined, would have been a place unlike any other. A vast, radiant land surrounded by endless ocean, a stage upon which humanity's earliest drama was performed. But what exactly made this lost civilization so extraordinary? What secrets were said to be buried with it beneath the sea? To understand that, we must step deeper into the myth and examine the heart of the story, the mystery of Mu itself. What was Mu, really? According to James Churchward's sweeping narrative, it was not merely another ancient land, but the very cradle of all civilization, a continent that thrived some 50,000 years ago. In his books, he described a vast empire ruled by a wise priest-king, where 10 tribes lived in harmony under a system of spiritual law. This society, he claimed, had mastered architecture, agriculture, astronomy, and a profound spiritual science. The people of Mu were said to worship the sun as the source of all life, yet their knowledge extended far beyond simple religious devotion. Churchward painted a picture of cities filled with grand temples and monumental stone structures, built with a precision that rivaled even the greatest wonders of the known world. Their wisdom, he argued, was later carried across the seas by survivors who spread to every corner of the earth after Mu sank beneath the Pacific. In this way, the pyramids of Egypt, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, and even the stepped temples of the Maya could all be traced back to this single, mysterious source. But what makes the legend of Mu truly strange is not just its supposed achievements, it's the fact that not a single trace of it has ever been found. No ruins lie hidden beneath the Pacific, no artifacts have washed ashore, and no undeniable records exist in the traditions of surrounding cultures. Instead, the story rests on fragments of myth and highly questionable interpretations of ancient texts. For example, Churchward claimed to have based much of his theory on ancient tablets he supposedly studied in India, written in a lost Nakul language. Yet no one else ever saw these tablets, and scholars dismiss their existence entirely. And yet the allure remains. For if Mu truly existed, it would overturn everything we know about the timeline of human development. Could humanity's first great civilization have been swallowed whole by the ocean, leaving only whispers in legend and echoes in the architecture of distant peoples? Or is Mu itself a myth, born out of wishful thinking, misinterpretation, and the human desire for hidden origins? The people said to have lived in Mu remain as mysterious as the land itself. Who were they? What did they believe? And why do so many myths across the world speak of sunken lands and lost homelands as if remembering something long forgotten? To find the answer, we must step into their imagined daily life, the traditions and cultural practices that, according to legend, defined this lost civilization. If we imagine Mu as Churchward and others described it, what kind of lives did its people lead? According to the legend, Mu's inhabitants lived in a world of balance, harmony between nature, spirit, and society. They were often portrayed as a peaceful people, guided by priestly leaders who upheld spiritual laws handed down from the gods. These laws, it was said, ensured unity among the 10 tribes of Mu and fostered a civilization that valued knowledge as much as survival. Their religion centered on the worship of the sun, but unlike the blood sacrifices of later civilizations, Mu's rituals were said to be symbolic and deeply philosophical. The sun represented the eternal source of life, light, and truth. And the people of Mu saw themselves as children of this cosmic energy. Temples, according to the myths, were built to align with celestial bodies, serving as both houses of worship and observatories of the heavens. If true, Mu might have been among the first cultures to integrate science and spirituality in daily life. Legends claim that the people of Mu were advanced engineers and architects using massive stone blocks and precise measurements. Their cities, surrounded by lush tropical landscapes, may have resembled a blend of Polynesian island villages and monumental temple complexes. Some even suggest that the stone statues of Easter Island are remnants of this knowledge, echoes of a lost tradition passed down by survivors of Mu. But beyond temples and monuments, the supposed legacy of Mu may be found in the traditions of cultures spread across the globe. The Maya spoke of a homeland called Aztlan, while Polynesian chants remember islands swallowed by the sea. Even the Egyptians, Churchward argued, preserved fragments of Mu's wisdom in their sacred texts and cosmic myths. Could these be the cultural fingerprints of a forgotten civilization, carried through oral traditions after a global catastrophe? Whether fact or fiction, the image of Mu's people reflects something very human. A longing for a golden age when life was simpler, wisdom was purer, and humanity was closer to the cosmos. Every lost civilization, from Atlantis to Mu, tells us less about the past and more about ourselves. The desire to believe that we once lived in harmony with the universe and might again. But myths cannot stand alone without evidence. If Mu really existed, where are its ruins, its artifacts, its unmistakable remains? To answer this, we must turn to the work of scientists and archaeologists who have studied the Pacific Ocean and the histories of its peoples. Their findings shed light on both the possibilities and the problems of the legend of Mu. For all the grandeur of the story, science has dealt harshly with the idea of Mu. Geologists argue that continents do not simply vanish beneath the ocean in the way the legend suggests. The Pacific Basin is made up of tectonic plates, volcanic islands, and deep trenches, but it lacks the type of continental crust that could support a landmass as vast as Mu. In other words, there is no room for a lost continent there. Archaeology adds further skepticism. Augustus Le Plongeon's supposed translations of Mayan glyphs, the ones that first hinted at a sunken homeland, were later shown to be entirely mistaken. The inscriptions he thought spoke of Mu were, in fact, describing ordinary dynastic histories. James Churchward's mysterious Narkal tablets, which he claimed to have studied in India, were never seen by anyone else, and no credible evidence of their existence has ever surfaced. To the academic world, Mu is not a forgotten continent, but a modern myth woven from errors and imagination. That said, the Pacific does hold real mysteries, ones that perhaps inspired or fed the legend. Archaeologists have uncovered megalithic sites on islands like Nan Madol in Micronesia, where enormous basalt columns were stacked to form canals and temples, earning it the nickname, the Venice of the Pacific. On Easter Island, the towering Moai statues stand as a reminder of a once powerful culture that built monuments against overwhelming odds. These real places prove that the peoples of the Pacific were capable of extraordinary achievements, even without the help of a lost continent. Science also offers more grounded explanations for the widespread myths of sunken lands. Rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age submerged countless coastal areas across the globe. For communities living near the shore, these floods would have seemed like catastrophic events, searing memories of lost homelands into oral traditions. When retold over generations, these stories could easily transform into legends of entire continents swallowed by the ocean. Thus, while mainstream archaeology rejects Mu as a literal place, it recognizes the power of the myth. It reflects both humanity's memory of ancient natural disasters and our timeless urge to seek origins beyond what we can see. But if science has dismissed Mu, why does the legend refuse to die? To understand that, we must turn to the world of alternative theories, where mystics, writers, and even UFO enthusiasts have kept the dream of Mu alive. If science has rejected Mu, why does the legend still captivate millions? The answer lies in the realm of alternative theories, where imagination, spirituality, and speculation keep the story alive. For many, Mu is not simply a lost land, but a symbol of humanity's forgotten potential. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Mu found a home in esoteric traditions like theosophy. Writers such as Helena Blavatsky spoke of ancient root races and sunken continents, weaving Mu into a cosmic narrative of spiritual evolution. James Churchward took this further, claiming Mu was the origin of all great civilizations. His books, filled with maps, drawings, and sweeping claims, gained wide popularity, particularly during the 1920s and 30s, when fascination with lost worlds was at its peak. In modern times, Mu has often been linked to theories of advanced ancient technology, or even extraterrestrial intervention. Some New Age thinkers suggest that Mu's people had mastered a form of energy unknown to us today, perhaps tapping into the Earth's natural forces or even manipulating matter through vibration. Others go further, proposing that Mu's inhabitants were not entirely human, but a hybrid race connected to visitors from the stars. For these believers, the disappearance of Mu was not just a geological catastrophe, but part of a cosmic drama, with survivors spreading wisdom across the globe. The idea of Mu also gained traction because it seemed to connect so many global mysteries. The pyramids of Egypt, the stepped temples of the Maya, the megaliths of Polynesia, all could be explained in this view by a single, advanced mother civilization. To the human imagination, this was far more appealing than the slow, fragmented development described by mainstream archaeology. Of course, the scientific community remains highly skeptical. No geological evidence supports the existence of a continent in the Pacific. No ancient texts confirm Churchward's claims. To scholars, Mu belongs in the same category as Atlantis or Lemuria, myths that reveal more about human dreams than human history. And yet, despite this skepticism, Mu endures. It survives in spiritual movements, conspiracy theories, and countless novels, films, and games. Perhaps this is because, in a world where so much is explained by science, we still yearn for mystery. Mu is not just a land. It is the dream of a forgotten paradise, a world where humanity once lived in harmony, only to lose it all. But myths endure for a reason. What does the story of Mu tell us about ourselves, and why does it continue to echo in modern culture? To answer that, we must explore the legacy of this lost civilization, the impact it has had on our imagination, and why its shadow still lingers today. The legend of Mu has left no ruins for archaeologists to uncover, but it has carved out a permanent place in human imagination. For more than a century, this lost continent has inspired writers, spiritual seekers and dreamers, who long for a hidden origin to our story. Even though science dismisses Mu, the myth continues to shape how we think about the past and about ourselves. In literature and popular culture, Mu has appeared again and again. Science fiction and fantasy writers of the early 20th century embraced it as a backdrop for lost world adventures. Comic books, novels, and even video games have drawn from their imagery. A vast sunken land, mysterious survivors, and forgotten technologies. In these stories, Mu often stands alongside Atlantis as one of the great what-ifs of human history. In spirituality, Mu found fertile ground among New Age thinkers. For many, it is not just a lost civilization, but a symbol of higher consciousness and ancient wisdom. Books and teachings describe Mu as a peaceful, spiritually advanced culture whose people understood truths that modern humanity has forgotten. In this way, Mu serves as both a warning and a hope, a reminder that great civilizations can vanish, and a vision of a future where harmony might be restored. The legacy of Mu also lies in its power to connect cultures. By weaving together myths from Polynesia, Mesoamerica, and beyond, the story of Mu suggests that humanity is linked by shared memories of catastrophe and survival. Even if Mu itself never existed, the myths that sustain it reflect real human experiences, floods, migrations, and the deep-seated belief that we come from somewhere greater than ourselves. Why does Mu still fascinate us today? Because it touches something universal. The possibility that an entire chapter of human history is missing excites both curiosity and wonder. It reminds us that the world is vast, that our past is not fully known, and that mystery still lingers beyond the reach of science. In a way, Mu endures not because of what it was, but because of what it represents, humanity's eternal search for origin, meaning, and lost paradise. But every journey must circle back to the beginning. If Mu is a myth, what truths can we still take from it? If it is real, why has it left no trace? As we close this exploration, let us step back and reflect on what the story of Mu really teaches us about the power of history, myth, and imagination. The story of Mu is one of history's greatest enigmas. On one hand, science tells us it is nothing more than a myth, an invention born from misread inscriptions, imaginative explorers, and the human hunger for mystery. On the other hand, its legend has endured for over a century, growing into something larger than facts, a symbol of our longing for a forgotten paradise, and a reminder of how fragile civilizations can be. Whether Mu was real or not may never be known. No ruins lie beneath the Pacific. No artifacts prove its existence. And yet, the tale refuses to die. It lives in myths passed down across oceans, in books that captured imaginations, and in the hearts of those who believe humanity's origins are far deeper, stranger, and more extraordinary than we think. Perhaps the true secret of Mu is not about a sunken land, but about us. We are a species that dreams of golden ages, that seeks meaning in the unexplained, and that is willing to search for answers even where evidence is scarce. Mu may never rise again from the sea, but its legacy has already resurfaced, inspiring us to question, to wonder, and to look at history not as a closed book, but as a story still unfolding. The truth may never be fully revealed, but perhaps that is the power of Mu, to remind us that mystery itself is part of what makes us human. And our journey into mystery does not end here. In our next episode, we'll follow the footsteps of explorers who searched not across the seas, but deep into the jungles of South America, for another lost world of legend, the fabled city of El Dorado, where rivers of gold and dreams of conquest changed history forever. If you enjoyed this exploration, remember to like, share, and subscribe, so together we can keep uncovering the secrets of our mysterious past.